Hi, we're meeting with Welton Chang, CEO of Pyrra Technologies. Welton, tell us about Pyrra.
Thomas, it's really nice to be here with you today. Pyrra is an early stage startup. We use artificial intelligence to detect violent threats and other kinds of concerning content targeting our clients on alternative social media. So everything that's not Facebook or Twitter. We have a very sophisticated data science pipeline that detects when a specific post that's being put on one of these platforms flags in our system, and we're able to alert our clients when that happens. If you think to 2017, 2018, that time frame and how much disinformation started to permeate social media, when I looked out in the landscape, I really thought that one of the key challenges I wanted to focus on was to help organizations, specifically the government, as well as companies, try to make heads or tails of what was evolving in these spaces. As I was doing that, specifically working with federal government clients as part of Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, one of the things I noted was just how much more hate speech and violent threats there were on the platforms that we were monitoring, and how that was a much even worse problem than disinformation targeting organizations and the government. And so when an opportunity came up to join Human Rights First as their first chief technology officer and also the founder of their innovation lab, I jumped at that chance. And from there, we spun out the company because we saw a need in the marketplace to have a platform that could monitor alternative social media rather than being only focused on places like Twitter or Facebook, those mainstream platforms. Yeah, it's changing. It's an ever-evolving space, and we are continually adding new platforms because this ecosystem has really grown in leaps and bounds in the last 3 to 4 years.
One of the things you do is detect from these sites when online violence or hate speech is likely to materialize in real-world violence. What does that look like? How do you start to know if something's transcending the digital world into the real world?
Usually it's volume. It's how much of a spike you see in the graphs that we create with our platform. And when those spikes truly go exponential, that's when I think more caution is warranted, that there is probably conversation that's moving from these online spaces, virtual spaces, and probably progressing into physical manifestations.
So I can imagine celebrities, maybe big companies, governments having these issues, but what kind of variety are you seeing in terms of targets of hate speech or violence?
It's absolutely astounding the number of individuals, organizations that are getting caught up in various controversies. But really anyone can become one of these overnight celebrities. What we typically see transpire is, hey, there's a lot of conversation about a specific target, then that conversation starts to turn violent, and then the doxing begins, and the next thing you know, someone's showing up to an individual's place of residence, maybe the school where their kids are, and that's when it becomes really visceral in terms of how these online activities translate into physical real world activities that you need to monitor and understand and keep an eye on.
And what are some things you're doing with Doucera?
Doucera's been a great partner so far. We've enjoyed their hospitality, as well as being able to access some of the folks that they interact with on a regular basis, people who potentially turn into clients for us. And so they've been helpful in making those introductions to opportunities, and we see them as a real strong partner moving forward.
Thank you, Welton, for sharing with us. We're really excited about what you're doing at Pyrra, and I'm inspired by the idea of using big data, using AI to really understand where threats emerge and where violence might happen. So thank you for the work you're doing, and it'll be exciting to see what you do next.
Thank you, Thomas. Thanks for having me.